My name is Ethan. I didn't sleep after the closet door almost opened. I stayed in my bed until morning, staring at the ceiling, counting my breaths, afraid that if I stopped paying attention, something else would start breathing for me. The room felt wrong, not quiet, empty, like something had left, but hadn't gone far. When the sun finally came up, I checked the closet. The door was closed. No scratches, no cracks, no sign that anything had ever been inside. That terrified me more than if it had been destroyed, because monsters don't usually clean up after themselves. The rest of the day felt disconnected. The light outside looked flat. Colors felt muted, like reality itself was tired. People walked past me without really seeing me. Even sound felt delayed. Footsteps echoed a moment too late. Voices arrived after lips moved. That night, I told myself I wouldn't sleep. I sat on my bed, phone in my hand, eyes burning, watching the time crawl forward. 3:30 a.m., 3:31, 3:32. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure something else could hear it. Then, nothing. 3:33 a.m. came and passed. No shadow, no whisper, no presence beside my bed. For the first time in months, I slept. And that's when I knew something had gone terribly wrong. The next morning, I woke up convinced something had shifted. Not in the room, in reality. Sunlight poured through the window, too bright, too sharp, like it didn't belong here anymore. I reached for my phone. Tuesday, that's what the screen said. But when I turned my head and looked at the wall calendar, it still said Monday. I stood there for a long time, trying to decide which one of them was lying to me. I told myself it didn't matter. I was wrong. I turned on the television. The news anchor was talking about a fire downtown, a residential building. Casualties unknown. They showed footage, smoke, sirens, people screaming in the background. Then they showed a name, a man who worked in my building, someone I had spoken to yesterday. My phone buzzed in my hand, a message from him, sent 10 minutes ago. I turned the TV off. Outside, the city looked unfinished. Cars passed by, but their engines sounded muffled. Pedestrians moved like they were half a step behind themselves. When someone spoke to me, their voice reached my ears before their lips moved. Time wasn't broken everywhere, just here, just around me. I felt it pulling, stretching, like reality was trying to decide which version of today it wanted to be. That night, I locked my door. I didn't sit on the bed. I stood in the middle of the room, watching the closet, waiting. When the clock reached 3:33 a.m., the air changed, not colder, heavier, like something had arrived early. And then I heard it, breathing, not beside my bed, not behind me, but right in front of me, at the foot of the bed, where someone was standing. I didn't turn around at first. I already knew who it was. Some instinct inside me recognized the shape, the weight of the presence, the way the air bent around him. I whispered, "Who are you?" The answer came back in my own voice, older, rougher, like it had been worn down by years of screaming into silence. "I'm you." I slowly turned. He was standing at the foot of my bed, not a shadow, a man, my height, my face. But everything about him looked wrong. His skin was pale, stretched tight like it didn't quite fit anymore. Dark hollows circled his eyes, deep enough to look carved in. His shoulders slumped forward, as if gravity was heavier for him than it was for me. He looked tired, not physically, existentially, like someone who had reached the end of something and kept going anyway. "I told you not to touch the closet," he said. His voice cracked on the last word. I asked him what he meant. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked around the room, at the walls, the ceiling, the light flickering above us. A sad smile crossed his face. "This is where it always happens," he said. I felt my throat tighten. "Where what happens?" He finally looked at me, directly into my eyes. "This is where we break." The clock behind him clicked softly. 3:33 a.m. And in the corner of the room, the shadow moved. I didn't want to believe him. I stood there, staring at my own face reflected in someone else's skin, trying to convince myself this was another trick, another hallucination. But the fear in his eyes was real. The kind of fear that doesn't come from surprise, the kind that comes from memory. "You don't understand," he said quietly. "This isn't the first time." I asked him what he meant. He took a slow breath, like every word cost him something. "The shadow doesn't kill us," he said. "It waits." He told me about the nights that came after, the nights when the shadow stood closer, the nights when sleep stopped feeling like rest and started feeling like surrender. "At first, it just watches," he said. "Then it listens, then it learns." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "Learns what?" I asked. "How to be you." He explained the loop. Every version of me who lived in this room reached the same point, the same exhaustion, the same isolation, the same hour, 3:33 a.m. "That's when we break," he said, "when we finally stop resisting." He looked away from me, toward the closet. "When that happens, we don't disappear. We become the shadow." The words settled into the room like dust. I shook my head. "No," I whispered. "That's not possible." He looked back at me. I said the same thing. The clock ticked again, slow, heavy, and somewhere in the room, something smiled. He stepped closer to the bed. I could hear his breathing now, short, uneven, like every breath hurt. "Listen to me," he said. "We don't have much time." I backed away until the edge of the mattress pressed against my legs. "You said you came to warn me," I whispered. "This doesn't feel like a warning." His jaw tightened. It never does. The light in the room dimmed, just slightly, enough to make the corners feel deeper, enough to make the shadow on the wall stretch. He raised his hand. My body refused to move. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. The air felt thick, like my lungs were pushing against water instead of oxygen. "I'm sorry," he said. And this time, I believed him. He told me he'd tried everything else, leaving the room, destroying the closet, calling for help. Every path led back here. Every version of him ended the same way. "At 3:33 a.m., he said, "there's only one choice left." His hand shook as it came closer to my chest. That's when I felt it. Something shift behind him. The shadow peeled itself away from the wall, slow, deliberate, not rushing, watching. I realized then that it wasn't helping him. It was observing, learning how this version of me would end. "Stop," I whispered. Not to him, to the room, to the thing listening. The shadow leaned in, curious. And then it spoke, not out loud, inside my head. He always tries this. My future self froze. His eyes widened, not in fear of me, but in fear of what was standing behind him. He always fails. The clock clicked. 3:33 a.m. became 3:34, and the shadow moved. The room went completely still, not silent, still, like time itself had paused to listen. My future self lowered his hand slowly, as if moving too fast might attract attention. The shadow stood between us now, not solid, not liquid, something in between. Its shape shifted gently, like smoke remembering it used to be human. I couldn't see a face, but I could feel its attention, focused, precise, intimate. Then it spoke again, not with sound, but with pressure. A thought pushed into my mind, not mine, but pretending to be. "You're early," it said. My future self fell to his knees. I felt his fear before he spoke it. "You weren't supposed to wake up yet," he whispered. "You were supposed to ripen longer." The shadow reacted to that word, ripen. It leaned closer to me, its presence brushing against my thoughts, sorting through them. Memories surfaced without my permission. Loneliness, sleepless nights. The moment I first noticed it beside my bed, the shadow absorbed them all, satisfied. "This one learns faster," it said. "Pain accelerates the process." I realized then that the shadow wasn't born from me. It was refining me, using each version to perfect the next. I felt something settle into place inside my chest, a quiet understanding. The shadow wasn't here to end my life. It was here to improve it. My future self looked up at me, tears streaking down his face. "I tried to stop it," he said. "I tried to stop you." The shadow turned its attention back to him. "And you did," it replied, "many times." It shifted. The air bent inward, and the closet door behind him began to open. The closet door opened wider, not fast, not violent, careful, like something that knew there was no need to hurry anymore. My future self tried to crawl away. His hands scraped against the floor, fingers slipping, leaving faint lines in the dust. "No," he said, not screaming, begging. The shadow didn't touch him at first. It waited, as if allowing him one last attempt to believe this might end differently. Then the air around him tightened. His body jerked backward, pulled by something I couldn't see, something that didn't need hands. He screamed my name, my name. The sound tore through me in a way I wasn't prepared for. I tried to move, tried to run to him. My legs refused. The shadow pressed against my thoughts again, gentle this time. "Observe," it said. The closet swallowed him slowly. Shoulders, chest, face. His eyes never left mine. Right before the door closed, he mouthed something. 4 words. "This is how we end." The door shut, not slammed, sealed. The room exhaled. The shadow loosened its presence, as if a task had been completed. Then it turned its attention back to me. "Cycle complete," it said. The clock on the wall ticked once, loud, final, 3:34 a.m. I was alone again. The room looked exactly the same. The bed, the desk, the flickering light above. But I knew something had changed. The air felt lighter, as if a storm had passed through and taken something with it. I checked the clock. 3:35 a.m. Time was moving again. I sat down on the edge of the bed, hands shaking, trying to understand what I had just watched. The shadow was gone. No presence, no pressure in my thoughts. For a moment, I almost believed it was over. Then I stood up and caught my reflection in the dark window. I looked tired, older than I remembered. My eyes felt deeper in their sockets, my face thinner, like something had been gently reshaped. I touched my cheek. The reflection followed perfectly, too perfectly. I waited for it to lag. It didn't. A thought surfaced in my mind, not spoken, just known. Progress. I backed away from the window. My heart started racing again. The shadow hadn't disappeared. It had settled, integrated. That's when I noticed the quiet, Not empty, not attentive, content. Like something inside me had finally found a comfortable position. I lay back down on the bed, exhaustion crashing over me all at once. As I drifted off, one last thought brushed through my mind. Tomorrow night, I won't be alone anymore. I woke up to silence, real silence. No hum of the city, no distant traffic, no sound of neighbors breathing through thin walls. Just me and the room. Morning light filtered through the window, soft and pale, like it didn't want to disturb anything. I checked the clock. 7:12 a.m. I had slept, deeply, peacefully. That should have scared me. I stood up slowly and walked toward the mirror. For a moment, everything looked normal. Then I blinked, and my reflection didn't. It kept its eyes open, watching me, studying my face with quiet interest. I felt a familiar pressure in my chest, not fear, recognition. The reflection smiled, not wide, not threatening, just enough. A calm, satisfied expression. A thought settled into my mind, smooth and certain. Tonight, we continue. I stepped back from the mirror. The smile didn't fade, because this time, it wasn't trapped in the room anymore. It was looking out from behind my eyes,